The pregnancy test in her mother's bathroom trash had her husband's name written on a sticky note attached to it, with a heart drawn next to the words, 8 weeks, tell him tonight. Maya's hands trembled so violently that the test clattered against the porcelain sink, and in that moment, her entire world, her 5-year marriage, her family bonds, her sense of self, shattered into a million irreparable pieces. She was 32 years old, had spent 3 devastating years trying to conceive with the man she loved, and now her own mother, the woman who had raised her, held her through heartbreaks, and walked her down the aisle, was carrying her husband's child. What kind of twisted betrayal was this? How long had they been hiding this from her? And the burning question that would haunt her for months to come, what could she possibly do next that wouldn't destroy everyone involved, including herself? Maya stood frozen in her childhood bathroom, her caramel-brown skin pale with shock, her long black braids falling over the shoulders of her cream-colored cashmere sweater. She was a woman who had always been described as warm and graceful, with deep brown eyes that held kindness even for strangers. Her mother, Diane, was 54 years old, still strikingly beautiful with her lighter complexion, silver-streaked natural hair, and the same elegant bone structure she had passed down to her daughter. Diane always dressed impeccably, today in a flowing emerald wrap dress that Maya had complimented just an hour ago, not knowing what secrets it concealed. The sound of laughter drifted up from downstairs, where her husband Marcus was helping Diane set the table for Sunday dinner, a tradition that suddenly felt like a cruel performance. Marcus, 35, tall and athletic with deep mahogany skin and a smile that had made Maya fall in love with him at a coffee shop 7 years ago, was down there acting as if nothing was wrong. He wore the navy blue button-down she had bought him for his birthday, the one she had told him brought out the warmth in his dark eyes. Maya's mind raced through the past several months, searching for signs she had missed. The hushed phone calls her mother ended abruptly when she walked in. The way Marcus had been working late more frequently. The strange tension at family gatherings that she had attributed to stress. How blind had she been? How foolish. She stuffed the pregnancy test into her purse with shaking hands, fixed her expression into something resembling normalcy, and walked downstairs. Every step felt like walking toward her own execution. She watched them interact, her mother and her husband, searching for guilty glances, secret touches, any confirmation of the nightmare she had just uncovered. "There you are, sweetheart," Marcus said, crossing the room to kiss her cheek. His lips felt like a brand of betrayal. "Your mom made your favorite, her famous jerk chicken." How thoughtful, Maya managed, her voice steady despite the earthquake inside her. She looked at her mother, searching Diane's face for any sign of guilt, but saw only the same loving expression she had known her entire life. Dinner was an exercise in torture. Maya pushed food around her plate, answering questions with one-word responses, her mind constructing and destroying 100 different confrontation scenarios. Should she throw the pregnancy test on the table right now? Should she scream? Should she walk out and never look back? But something held her back. A small voice whispering that things didn't quite add up. The way her mother looked at Marcus wasn't romantic, it was something else entirely, something Maya couldn't name. And Marcus, despite his recent distraction, still looked at Maya with the same devoted love he always had. None of the pieces fit the betrayal narrative, yet the evidence was undeniable. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay beside Marcus, studying his peaceful face, remembering the day they met. She had spilled coffee all over her laptop in a crowded cafe, panicking over a work presentation she was certain she had lost forever. He had appeared like a guardian angel, this handsome stranger with gentle hands and tech expertise, who not only recovered her files but asked for her number, in case of future digital emergencies. Their love story had been the kind people envied. 3 years of dating filled with adventure and deep conversation. A proposal at sunset on the beach where they had shared their first kiss. A wedding surrounded by everyone they loved, including Diane, who had cried happy tears and welcomed Marcus as the son she never had. And then, the struggle that had tested everything, the infertility journey that had broken Maya's heart month after month. "We'll find another way," Marcus had said after their third failed treatment, holding her as she sobbed. "I married you, not the idea of biological children. We'll adopt, we'll foster, we'll figure it out together." Those words had meant everything to her then. Now they felt like lies. The next morning, Maya made a decision. She wouldn't confront anyone yet. She would investigate, gather evidence, prepare herself for whatever truth awaited. It was the journalist in her. She had spent a decade chasing stories, and now she would chase the most painful story of her life. She called in sick to work at the magazine where she was a senior editor, something she never did, and began her investigation. Phone records. Bank statements. Calendar entries. She felt like a detective in her own marriage, hating every moment of it. What she found made everything more confusing. Yes, Marcus and Diane had been meeting secretly, coffee shops, restaurants, even a medical clinic across town. But there were also consultations with lawyers, payments to a fertility specialist Maya had never heard of, and dozens of emails with subject lines about the surprise and keeping it secret until the right moment. At the 1/3 mark of her investigation, Maya discovered something that stopped her heart completely: legal documents drafted by a family attorney, outlining a surrogacy agreement, with Diane listed as the surrogate and Maya listed as the intended mother. The papers were unsigned, dated just 2 weeks ago, with a note attached in Marcus's handwriting, still figuring out how to tell her. Want it to be perfect. Her mother wasn't pregnant with her husband's baby out of betrayal, she was carrying a baby for them. Maya collapsed onto her home office floor, the legal documents scattering around her like fallen leaves. The pregnancy test, the secret meetings, the hushed conversations, it was all part of an elaborate plan to give her the one thing she wanted most in the world. A child. Her mother, at 54 years old, had agreed to be a surrogate for her own daughter, using Maya's frozen embryos from their final IVF attempt in her mother's still viable womb. The relief that flooded through Maya was immediately followed by crushing guilt. She had spent 24 hours believing the worst about the two people who loved her most. She had mentally convicted them of an unforgivable sin when they were actually committing an act of unimaginable love. But she couldn't reveal what she knew. Not yet. Because now she understood why they were keeping it secret. They wanted to wait until the first trimester was safely completed before telling her, protecting her from potential heartbreak if something went wrong. Her mother was 8 weeks along. For more weeks of waiting, of pretending, of keeping her own secret about knowing their secret. Those 4 weeks were the longest of Maya's life. She went through the motions of normal life, going to work, having dinner with Marcus, visiting her mother, all while carrying the most extraordinary knowledge. She caught herself smiling at random moments, tears springing to her eyes during baby commercials, her hand drifting unconsciously to her own flat stomach as if in sympathy with the life growing inside her mother. During this time, she fell in love with Marcus all over again. She watched him differently now, noticing the way he researched parenting books late at night when he thought she was asleep. The way he had started a secret Pinterest board for nursery ideas. The way he looked at her sometimes with barely contained excitement, clearly bursting to share the news. She also grew closer to her mother in ways she hadn't since childhood. Their conversations deepened, became more vulnerable. Diane shared stories about her own pregnancy with Maya 32 years ago, the cravings, the fears, the overwhelming love she felt before her daughter was even born. Being a mother, Diane said one afternoon, reaching across the table to hold Maya's hand, is the greatest privilege of my life. Everything I am, everything I have, I would give to see you happy. Maya almost broke down right there. I know, Mom, she whispered. I know you would. But at the 2/3 mark, everything fell apart in a way none of them anticipated. It was a Thursday afternoon when Maya's phone rang with an unknown number. The voice on the other end was a nurse from St. Catherine's Hospital, asking if she was Maya Johnson, daughter of Diane Richardson. There had been an accident. Her mother had collapsed at a grocery store. She was being rushed into emergency surgery. Maya arrived at the hospital not knowing if she would lose her mother, her baby, or both, and Marcus was nowhere to be found. The hours in that waiting room were the darkest of Maya's life. She sat alone in a cold plastic chair, her cream sweater now wrinkled and stained with the coffee she had dropped when she got the call. She called Marcus 17 times. Straight to voicemail. Where was he? Why wasn't he answering? Her mind spiraled into dark places again. Had she been wrong about everything? Was there more to the story? Was Marcus's absence suspicious, or was she losing her grip on reality? A doctor finally emerged, a tired woman with kind eyes and silver hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Ms. Johnson? Your mother is stable. She experienced severe dehydration and a drop in blood pressure. We see this sometimes in older pregnancies. The baby is fine. The baby is fine. 3 words that meant everything. She's asking for you, the doctor continued. And for someone named Marcus. Maya rushed to her mother's room, finding Diane pale but alert in the hospital bed, monitors beeping steadily around her. Diane's silver-streaked hair was spread across the pillow, her emerald dress replaced by a faded hospital gown, but her eyes, those same warm brown eyes Maya had inherited, were filled with love and tears. Baby girl, Diane whispered, reaching for her daughter. I'm so sorry. We wanted to tell you differently. We had this whole plan. I know, Mom. Maya sat on the edge of the bed, taking her mother's hand. I've known for weeks. Diane's eyes widened. What? How? I found the pregnancy test. I thought, Maya's voice broke. I thought the worst. For almost a full day, I believed you and Marcus had betrayed me. I'm so ashamed. Oh, my sweet girl. Diane pulled her closer, stroking her hair the way she had when Maya was small. Of course you thought that. What else could you have thought with no context? I should have told you from the beginning. I was just so scared something would go wrong, that I would fail you again like those treatments failed you, that. You could never fail me, Maya interrupted, tears streaming down her face. You're literally giving me the greatest gift anyone could ever give. You're carrying my child. At your age, with all the risks, Mom, why would you do this? Diane smiled, the same smile Maya had seen in every childhood photograph, at every graduation, at her wedding. Because I'm your mother. And mothers do impossible things for their children. I couldn't watch you suffer through one more failed treatment, one more disappointment. I talked to your doctor, I got tested, and when they said I was a candidate, I knew I had to try. But the risks are worth it. Diane's voice was firm despite her weakness. Every single one. I've lived a full life, Maya. I've loved, I've laughed, I've raised the most extraordinary daughter. If I can give you this, if I can give you the experience of holding your own child in your arms, then everything else is just details. The door burst open, and Marcus rushed in, still wearing his work clothes, the navy button-down now wrinkled, his face twisted with worry. The hospital called my office, my phone died in a meeting, I got here as fast as I could. He stopped, taking in the scene before him, mother and daughter crying, holding hands, monitors beeping steadily. She knows, Diane said simply. Marcus looked at Maya, vulnerability replacing the panic in his eyes. You know? About the baby? About what we've been planning? Maya stood and walked to her husband, seeing him fully for the first time in months, not as a suspected cheater, not as a secretive stranger, but as the man who had moved mountains to give her the family she dreamed of. I know everything, she said. And I love you more than I ever have. She kissed him then, in that fluorescent-lit hospital room with her mother looking on, a kiss that tasted like forgiveness and gratitude and the promise of new beginnings. I'm so sorry we kept it secret, Marcus said when they broke apart. I just wanted it to be real first. I wanted to surprise you with something beautiful instead of more maybes and what-ifs. It is beautiful, Maya assured him. It's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever done for me. The weeks that followed were transformative. Maya helped care for her mother, adjusting Diane's schedule to reduce stress, accompanying her to doctor's appointments, making sure she ate properly and rested enough. The secret was out now, shared with close friends and family who reacted with the same initial shock Maya had felt before dissolving into tears of joy. Maya's relationship with Marcus entered a new chapter, deeper and more intimate than before. They spent long nights talking about the future, baby names, parenting philosophies, how they would explain their child's unique origin story someday. What do we tell them? Maya wondered one night, her head on Marcus's chest. How do we explain that their grandmother is their birth mother? We tell them the truth, Marcus said, stroking her hair. That they were so loved, so wanted, that their grandmother did something miraculous to bring them into this world. That their family is built on sacrifice and love, not just biology. You think they'll understand? I think they'll grow up knowing they were born from an act of extraordinary love. And I think that's a pretty amazing foundation. The pregnancy progressed beautifully despite the early scare. Diane followed every medical instruction meticulously, her maternal instincts kicking in once again as she nurtured the life growing inside her. Maya found herself having new conversations with her mother, different from any they'd had before, about the physical sensations of pregnancy, about the emotional journey, about the moment you first feel a baby kick. There, Diane said one evening, grabbing Maya's hand and pressing it to her rounded belly. Feel that? Maya felt it, a tiny flutter, a movement so small it could have been imagination, but wasn't. Her child was moving inside her mother's womb, reaching out to say hello. She burst into tears. That's your baby, Diane whispered, crying too. That's your miracle. As the due date approached, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The years of trying and failing. The pregnancy tests that were always negative. The treatments that never worked. The moments of despair when she thought motherhood would never be hers. And then, this gift. This impossible, miraculous, never could have predicted gift. She had almost destroyed it all by jumping to conclusions. Her trust had been tested, and she had initially failed that test. But she had also learned something crucial about herself, that she was capable of stepping back, investigating rather than reacting, and ultimately opening her heart to the truth even when it defied her expectations. The birth was scheduled for a calm November morning. Maya held her mother's hand through every contraction, Marcus on Diane's other side, a team of supportive medical professionals surrounding them. The delivery room was filled with an unusual energy, 3 generations united in this single purpose. One more push, the doctor encouraged. Maya locked eyes with her mother. In that gaze was everything, every sacrifice Diane had ever made, every sleepless night when Maya was a baby, every tear she'd wiped away, every celebration she'd cheered for. This was the culmination of a lifetime of maternal love. Diane pushed one final time, and then the room filled with the most beautiful sound Maya had ever heard, her baby's first cry. It's a girl, the doctor announced, lifting a squirming, perfect, miraculous baby into the light. Maya cut the umbilical cord with trembling hands, then accepted her daughter into her arms for the first time. The baby had her father's nose and her grandmother's chin and eyes that were already trying to focus on the face above her. Hello, little one, Maya whispered through tears. I'm your mama. I've been waiting for you my whole life. She looked at Marcus, who was crying openly, his hand on her shoulder as he gazed at their daughter in awe. Then she looked at her mother, exhausted but radiant in the hospital bed, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, Maya said, the 2 words containing everything she could never fully express. Thank you for giving me this gift. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for being my mother. Thank you for letting me, Diane replied. She's perfect, Maya. You're going to be an incredible mom. They named her Hope Diane Johnson, Hope for what she represented, Diane for the woman who had made it all possible. 6 months later, Maya hosted a family gathering at her home, now transformed with all the markers of new parenthood, the baby swing in the corner, the toys scattered across the carpet, the photos on every surface of hope at every possible angle and milestone. Maya stood in the kitchen, watching her family through the doorway. Marcus was on the floor with Hope, making silly faces that earned delighted baby giggles. Her mother sat on the couch, looking healthy and strong, giving advice to a pregnant friend of Maya's who was nervous about her own upcoming delivery. The house was full of love and laughter and life. She thought about the moment in her mother's bathroom when her world had seemed to end. How she had been ready to believe the worst, to let suspicion destroy everything she held dear. How close she had come to confronting her husband and mother with accusations that would have shattered them all. Instead, she had found the truth. And the truth had set her free. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus appeared beside her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "How grateful I am," she said honestly. "For you. For my mom. For Hope. For this life that I almost threw away." "You didn't throw it away," Marcus reminded her. "You trusted us, even when it was hard. You waited for the truth instead of acting on fear. That takes courage." "I almost didn't trust you," Maya admitted. "But you did, in the end. And that's what matters." She turned in his arms to face him. "I love you, Marcus Johnson. More than I ever thought I could love anyone. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for understanding why I might have struggled to believe. Thank you for this family." He kissed her forehead. "Thank you for being the woman I wanted to build this family with." From the living room, Hope let out a particularly enthusiastic squeal, and they both laughed. Maya looked back at her daughter, at the miracle she never thought she'd hold, and felt a peace settle over her that she had never known before. Life had thrown her the most confusing, painful, wonderful curveball imaginable. She had been tested in ways she never anticipated. And she had emerged not just intact, but transformed, a mother, a better wife, a daughter who understood the depths of her own mother's love in ways she never could have before. Some stories begin with betrayal. But this one, Maya realized, had always been a love story, just one that required faith and patience to understand. As she walked back into the living room to rejoin her family, Hope reached her chubby arms toward her mother, and Maya scooped her up, breathing in the sweet baby scent of her hair. "You, little girl," Maya whispered against Hope's soft cheek, "are living proof that miracles happen when people love each other enough to do the impossible." The room glowed with evening light, warm and golden, as 3 generations of women smiled at each other, grandmother, mother, and child, bound by blood and sacrifice and a love that defied every expectation. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of love, trust, and family, hit like and subscribe to join our community of people who believe in miracles, because every week, we bring you more stories that will move your soul and remind you what truly matters in life.